right? Getting ready to step into a world of like heavy machinery and, the scent of concrete. You're in the right place. We're going to dive deep today. We're going to help you nail that concrete products machine operator interview. We've got RoleCatcher's guides with us today.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome job. I mean, it's more than just knowing how to, work a mixer,
Yeah.
right? So we'll break down some of those tricky interview questions for you, give you some career insights, and even show you how RoleCatcher can help you with their AI.
Love it. Love some AI help.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, paint us a picture. What does a concrete products machine operator, what do they actually do all day?
Well, I think a good way to think about it is massive machines,
Right.
churning, shaping concrete. They turn it into everything from the blocks you see on a construction site to those fancy pavers.
Yeah.
And you're running the show, so you're the one making sure the machines are working right, the concrete's flowing, and of course, everyone's being safe.
So definitely not a desk job. If you like to work with your hands, love being out there building the literal foundations of our world, well, this could be it for you. But first, interview.
Yeah, that's where RoleCatcher really comes in. Over 120,000 practice questions and AI tools. They can even analyze job descriptions to make sure you tailor your resume just right. It's kind of like having a secret weapon.
Secret weapon. Okay, let's jump into these questions. Let's do it.
Right.
RoleCatcher kicks it off with, what experience do you have in operating concrete product machines?
Hmm.
What if you're, fresh out of trade school? How do you answer that?
Well, you got to be honest. Don't oversell yourself, but definitely talk about your transferable skills. So maybe you've worked with other big machinery, maybe you're really good at mechanics. Highlight how you're eager to learn, and definitely talk about any training you've had.
Yeah, I like that. Think back to a time you had to pick up a new skill and you had to do it fast. How'd you approach it?
Yeah, that's a great example to share because it shows you're adaptable. You're a fast learner. You like to jump in and get your hands dirty. And, the interviewer might want to know, okay, what specific machines have you used? So make sure you have those details ready.
Okay, good tip. Next one feels a little intimidating. Can you describe your understanding of concrete production processes? Do they expect you to be like a concrete chemist here?
No lab coat needed, but they do want to see if you know the basics,
Okay.
right? Mixing the raw materials. You got your cement, your aggregates, your water to the pouring, molding, curing process, the whole thing.
So how do you make your answers stand out? How do you WOW them?
Well, think about the machines you've worked with. So let's say you've used a concrete mixer. You could say something like, I understand it's super important to combine the materials just right to make sure it's strong and has the right consistency. And you could even say, in my last role, I was in charge of calibrating the mixer and making sure the slump, which is the consistency, was correct for, all of the different types of concrete we make.
So you're showing you get how those machines fit into the whole process.
Yeah.
They might even ask you about troubleshooting, right? If something goes wrong during production.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Which is a perfect segue to the next question. Can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a problem with a concrete products machine?
Problem-solving hat time.
Put it on! So this is where you can use the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. And, just imagine a time. Maybe the concrete's not setting right. You can talk about how you checked the mixer's calibration. Maybe you adjusted the water. And then you tested it. Tested the slump, until you got it right.
So you're not only a problem solver, but you're also preventing any delays or waste.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Win-win. And that kind of story, that'll really impress an interviewer. They might ask you follow-up questions, though. Okay, what tools did you use? How'd you work with your team to fix it? So be ready to go a little deeper.
All right, speaking of details, next one is all about quality. How do you ensure the quality of the finished product? I'm guessing a sharp eye is super important here.
Oh, yeah. A sharp eye is definitely key because they want to know, do you take pride in your work? Do you understand quality control? So think about the checks you would do. Maybe you're inspecting the blocks, looking for cracks. Maybe you're using some calipers to make sure the dimensions are perfect.
So it's about those small details that make a big difference. I bet they might even ask about a time you had to reject a product. It just wasn't good enough. Yeah, and that's your chance to show them you're not afraid to stand up for quality, even if it means, production slows down a little bit. Think back, when was a time you had to make that tough call?
Yeah.
What went into your decision?
Yeah. And for you listening, have you ever had to do that? Like go above and beyond to make sure the quality was there. Maybe you double-checked all the measurements or even created a whole new system for tracking defects. Those examples, they show you're not just meeting the bare minimum. You're setting the bar high.
Okay, this next one is super important in this job because, safety's paramount, right? So how do you ensure the safety of yourself and others while operating concrete products machines?
I mean, you're working with heavy stuff, potentially dangerous materials, so safety's got to be number one, right?
Definitely. So start by showing them, the rules, the protocols. Talk about wearing your PPE, your steel-toed boots, your gloves, the eye protection. And definitely mention lockout, tagout procedures. That's the safety system, so the machine doesn't accidentally start up when someone's doing maintenance on it.
Okay, those are like the essentials. How do you go beyond the basics?
We'll give them examples of, you identifying a hazard before it becomes a problem. Like maybe you saw a frayed electrical cord and immediately reported it. Or maybe you helped put in place a new system for securing those heavy molds when you're moving them around.
So being alert, proactive, always putting safety first.
Mm-hmm.
They might ask about a time you had to, like, correct somebody else, if they weren't being safe.
Yeah. And that's your chance to show, like, hey, I'm a leader. I'm committed to making sure everyone's safe, creating that culture of safety,
Okay, next. Concrete products machine operators, they often have to juggle multiple things at once. So the question is, how do you prioritize tasks when operating multiple machines at once?
This is where your, organization skills come in. What's your system? Do you go by like the machine cycle time? Maybe you focus on the urgent orders first, or maybe you zero in on the tasks that have potential safety risks.
I bet they'll also want to hear about a time you had to change your priorities, on the spot. Because something unexpected happened. What did you do? How did you communicate with your team?
Being able to think fast and adapt, that's really key. And speaking of keeping things running smoothly.
Preventative maintenance. Can you describe your experience with preventative maintenance on concrete products machines?
Yeah, they want to see, a well-maintained machine is a productive machine.
Right.
Talk about your routine checks. Everything from lubricating all the moving parts to inspecting those belts for any wear and tear.
Maybe you even have a story about catching a small problem during a routine check. Like you prevented a major breakdown.
Yeah.
Proactive thinking.
Proactive. Yeah, and they might ask you about specific maintenance tasks, that you've done, or even test your knowledge of, safety procedures for when you're doing maintenance.
Okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's pause for a sec. You've given some amazing strategies so far, but we've got more to cover.
We do. We have 2 more questions. Plus, we're going to delve into that whole career path and how RoleCatcher's AI can really help you level up your interview prep. So before the break, we were really getting into it, talking about those common questions you might get asked as a concrete products machine operator.
You had some really good advice. But now I kind of want to zoom out a bit. What's the bigger picture here? Like, what's the career path look like for this job?
Ooh, good question. And honestly, it's something you can bring up in the interview too. Showing them that you're thinking about the future, you want to grow with the company. That's a big plus.
Okay, walk me through it then. What's that journey look like?
So RoleCatcher, in their career guide, they lay out kind of 3 main stages: entry level, junior, and then senior. So entry level, you're kind of like a sponge. You're learning everything. You might be helping out the more experienced operators, learning the ropes. Maybe you're, putting together molds, greasing them up, or even just helping out with mixing the cement.
So it's all about, working hard, proving yourself, and really getting those basics down.
Yeah, totally. Like you're building that foundation, right? And the guide gives an example of like the ideal person at this stage, someone who's eager to learn, reliable, and big on safety.
Got it. Okay, so then what about junior level? What are you doing differently then?
So as a junior concrete products machine operator, you're ready to fly solo a bit more. You're operating those machines on your own, keeping an eye on everything, adjusting the settings if you need to, troubleshooting if there's a small problem. You might even be training some of the newer folks.
So a little leadership coming in now.
Exactly. And the example profile they give for this level, it's someone who's comfortable running all those different machines. They love working with the team, and they're always trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this even better, more efficiently? They might even be like checking out new technologies, new ways of doing things.
I love that. So you're not just like pushing buttons, you're really thinking about the whole operation.
Right.
Okay, let's talk senior level, the big leagues. What does it take to get there?
Senior level, you're basically the captain of the ship. You're looking at all that production data, figuring out how to make things run even smoother. You're mentoring the junior operators. You're working with other departments like maintenance to make sure everything's humming.
Sounds like a lot of responsibility, but man, that must feel good.
It is. It's rewarding. They describe someone at this level, they've got a proven track record of leading teams, getting the most out of production. They love mentoring other people, and they're always pushing to make things better, for the whole company.
I love it. So I want to ask you listening, where do you see yourself in all of this?
Yeah.
Which part of this job excites you the most? It's good to think about that now, because you might get asked that in the interview. What are your goals, your aspirations?
And remember, learning never stops. The career guide even talks about, ways you can keep growing professionally, like maybe getting some certifications in concrete technology or even for operating certain types of machines.
Oh, that's a good point. It shows you're in it for the long haul. You want to keep learning and getting better.
Okay, so earlier we talked about the physical part of this job. And the career guide, it lists some pros and cons to consider too.
Right. It's good to know what you're getting into, both the good and the maybe not so good.
So let's start with the good stuff. What are some of the perks of being a concrete products machine operator?
Well, one of the biggest ones is job stability. The construction industry, it runs on concrete. So there's always going to be a need for people who know how to operate these machines.
That's a good feeling, especially these days.
Totally. Another pro is, that potential for growth we were talking about. You can move up, take on more responsibility, and make more money as you gain experience.
And you get to build stuff, work with your hands, see the results of what you're doing. It's not just a job, you're making things that are going to last. Yeah, for sure. And for some people, they really like that this job gives them a lot of independence. They can manage their own workload, make decisions about the production process. It's not like someone's breathing down your neck all the time.
I like that. Okay, so no job's perfect. What are some of the downsides?
Well, we did talk about how physical it can be. You're going to be on your feet, lifting heavy things, doing some repetitive motions, and there's the noise, the dust, working outside in the elements sometimes.
Got to be physically ready for all that.
Definitely. And for some people, some of the tasks might feel a little repetitive. If you're someone who really needs a lot of variety, that's something to think about.
The career guide also mentioned something about more automation in this industry. How does that play into things?
That's a really good point. Technology is always changing, and machines are getting smarter. So some of the things that used to be done by hand, they're being automated.
So what do you say in an interview about that? Should people be worried that, robots are going to take their jobs?
Not at all. It's about showing that you're adaptable, you're willing to learn new things. Instead of being scared of automation, you can say, hey, I'm excited about new technology. I want to be part of making things more efficient.
So basically, if you've got any experience with technology, even if it's just running a computer-controlled machine or using software to track production, make sure you talk about that.
Absolutely. It shows you're forward thinking, You're not stuck in the past. You're ready for whatever's next.
Okay, we still have those last two interview questions to get through, and I'm ready.
Me too. Let's do it.
Okay, last two questions. We can do this. So this one, it's all about that balance. How do you ensure you're meeting production goals while still maintaining quality standards? Sounds kind of tricky, right?
It is. You don't want one at the expense of the other. The interviewer wants to know, can you work quickly, make sure things are done right?
Right, right. So how do you do it? What's your approach?
Well, I'd start by saying, both are important, production and AD quality, and then explain how you manage that. Maybe you make a list, you prioritize what needs to get done first, what's most urgent, or maybe you double check everything at certain points to catch any mistakes early on.
And I bet communication's key too, right? With your team.
Oh, for sure. You got to keep everyone in the loop. Let them know how things are going, any potential delays, any quality concerns. Everyone's got to be working together.
What about those times when it feels like you just can't do both? The pressure's on. It happens.
Well, that's a perfect time to talk about your problem-solving skills. Give them a specific example. What was the situation? What was tough about it? And what did you do to fix it? Did you work with other people to streamline a process? Did you maybe suggest changing the production schedule a little bit so you could focus on quality without sacrificing too much output?
That's good. Showing them you can think on your feet, be flexible, and come up with solutions.
Yeah. And they might ask about specific production goals you've met, any challenges you overcame. So have those examples ready.
Okay, last question. This one is about leadership. Can you describe a time you had to train a new team member on operating concrete products machines? feel like this goes beyond just the technical stuff, you know?
Definitely. It's about being a good teacher, communicating clearly, and, making sure everyone's learning in a safe environment.
So what are they really hoping to hear? What kind of answer would really knock their socks off?
They want to know, can you break things down so they're easy to understand? Think back to a time when you trained someone. Did you give them a really thorough safety rundown first? Did you show them each step, let them practice while you supervise?
Patience. Gotta have patience. And give good feedback, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And talk about any, positive results. Did the person learn quickly? Were they able to contribute to meeting production goals? Sharing those successes shows, hey, you're a good trainer.
So thinking about that, listener, have you ever had to train someone? Teach them something new. Think about what you did, how you did it, and what went well. That's the kind of story they want to hear.
And don't forget, they might ask about, challenges you faced while training, or how you adjusted your teaching style for different people, because everyone learns differently.
Man, we covered so much today. We talked about what it's really like to be a concrete products machine operator.
Yeah.
And we really broke down those interview questions. You're going to be ready.
Totally. But before we go, got to talk about RoleCatcher's AI tools again.
Yes. That AI magic. It's more than just practicing questions. It's like personalized coaching just for this job.
Exactly. So their CV resume builder, it actually analyzes the job description, like the specific one you're applying for, and figures out, okay, what are the key skills? What are the key words the employers are looking for? And then it helps you put your resume together to highlight all the right stuff.
So it's like having a resume expert right there on your computer. But wait, there's more, right?
There is. They've got this other tool that uses AI to actually give you feedback on your interview answers. You can practice answering all the questions we talked about today, and the AI will listen to you, look at your words, and tell you what you can do even better.
That's incredible. So picture this. You walk into that interview feeling totally confident, totally prepared, because you've got AI on your side.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher really wants to help people succeed.
Okay, let's do a quick recap. We started by really getting to know this job. The hands-on stuff, the importance of safety, making sure the quality's there.
Then we tackled those 9 interview questions. And we talked about how to answer them in a way that really shows off your skills, your experience, and your personality.
And we didn't forget about those soft skills,
Yeah.
Teamwork, communication, problem solving. Those are huge.
And of course, we talked about how RoleCatcher can help with their AI tools, making sure your resume is top-notch and you're really prepared for those questions.
Our listener, you've got the knowledge, you've got the strategies, and you've got the power of AI. Go get them.
We're rooting for you. And remember, RoleCatcher's there for you every step of the way.
Until next time, happy job hunting.